Welcome to Mr. Biz Radio, biz talk for biz owners. If you're ready to stop faking the funk and take your business onward and upward, this show is for you. And now, here's Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth.
All right, welcome back to Mr. Biz Radio. Me, Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth. And this week, guys, we're going to talk about something that may be creeping into, and I know sometimes it does for me as well. And I think no matter how mentally strong you are, this can happen to you. Now, maybe more to some than others, right? That have more of this characteristic and may impact themselves more. But something else that, we're in the beginning of 2025, and this might be something that's, kind of creeping in as well, as maybe you made some New Year's resolutions. Maybe you've got, you've set your goals for 2025 and you're, almost a couple of months in and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm behind. I'm not, doing this. And some of these self-sabotage things start to maybe creep in a little bit. So we're going to talk about that this week with Dr. Philip Agrios. He's the CEO and founder of Transcend Now. He's a self-sabotage specialist, business consultant, best-selling author, and international speaker. He created the T Now method, which helps individuals and businesses identify their inborn sabotaging trait, a natural, inherent trait that hinders their success, and learn how to switch it off instantly. This transformative approach enables clients to convert self-sabotaging behaviors into powerful opportunities for growth. Dr. Agrios' method empowers people to break through their limitations, achieving lasting success on both their personal and professional lives. Dr. Agrios, welcome to Mr. Biz Radio.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the honor to be here.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to talking to you because, again, just being completely transparent. I mean, I think some of these things creep in with me sometimes, right? I put a lot of pressure on myself. I'm a very goal-oriented person. And, I think I do a decent job of staving them off, right? When they start to creep in. And I think, especially compared to some friends I have, I think I handle, that a little bit better than some others, just because I can snap back out of it. Like, think about a bunch of other things. And we're going to talk about some of your methods and how to do that. But before we dive into all that, tell us a little bit about your journey, if you would.
Sure. Well, I used to practice as a chiropractor and a functional medicine practitioner. My specialty was thyroid and autoimmune disease. And during my process of 35 years in practice, back in the early 90s, I stumbled across this trait that doesn't undermine us, but actually protects us from the very success that we seek, because that success subconsciously is more painful to succeed, to actually achieve it, or sustain it. So we go back doing what we do, whether it's imposter syndrome, procrastination, whatever. And when I first found it, I was like, this is too simple. There's no way. So I went out to try to disprove it. And after researching thousands and thousands of people over the last 30 years, not only was I able to prove it, found a way to switch it off instantly, and it works 100% of the time. So self-sabotage, you say, it creeps in, and well, it's always going to be there. Here's the key. It's a trait that you're born with. It's there to protect you. I'm going to say that again. It's there to protect you. So self-sabotage is just self-protection. Once you're out of your flow, you're stressed, you're resistive, you're worrying, or anything that gets you out of that flow, everything's moving well for you, you're just protecting yourself. So when you start to release your personal professional power and you hit that wall, the saboteur kicks in to protect you. That's it. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not an idiot or a loser, all the 100 words we say to ourselves. You're just in protection. So imagine hitting that wall as you contract, knowing that there's only one trait that's doing that. And knowing that trait, and then using what we call the T Now method, the exact opposite to that trait, you immediately go into growth. So now you're doing this compared to doing this over and over again, and it works 100% of the time.
Well, interesting. So as you went, so I guess going back a little bit, so you practiced, you're a chiropractor. What led you, to basically take the leap to say, I'm going to put my practice aside and kind of move in this direction?
Well, I went through a lot of stuff. I went through financial difficulty and almost ruined a few times. I went through some major stuff with a false accusation from an insurance company. I was going to lose my license and go to jail, which they found nothing after 4 years of going through hell. I was innocent. Nothing ever affected my my license. My father was going through brain cancer, and he died 7 months later. Became a, I think I went through a lot. Horrible divorce. One of my daughters almost tried to commit suicide, and all of
Oh,
this happened to break me down, to bring this up, to try to figure out why was this happening. I was considering myself the king of self-sabotage, and every time I got through it, something would cause us a problem. And then as I started realizing this just happened to come into my way. I just started seeing things differently. And then I started utilizing it in my practice with my chronically ill patients. And what we found is that why did they go eat a pizza that's going to keep cause them 4 days of pain? Why did they do this, this, and this? And we found that there was a trigger that used the saboteur to go in and protect them. So they used their numbing agents. And what we found is when we gave them the T-Now method, two things happened. They lessened their numbing agents or they stopped them. And then my business owners who were my patients were making major breakthroughs in their business. And I never thought about using it in the business. So I started getting referrals all around the world. I wrote my book. And 3 years later, I decided to do this full time because I was done practicing for 35 years and felt this was my next adventure to help millions of people in this way.
so I have to ask. I'm always curious with authors. Was it did the book just sort of as you decided, hey, I've learned a lot of the stuff, I want to put this thing down and and write a book, or was it like, oh, this is something I'm going to need. I need to write a book to sort of elevate your expertise and things like that. I'm always curious to ask authors that.
Both. So I
Okay,
wanted to get this is nothing like this in the world. This is totally something totally new. So I wanted to put it in my book to copyright it, number one. And number two, as a business person, it wasn't there for me to sell books. It was there to be an author, to have some authority in this field. And that's the reason why I wrote my book.
interesting. Yeah. So I kind of stumbled myself as an author and never really planned on writing a book, and it's just kind of happened by accident. I kind of sounds silly to say it that way, but wrote the first book, and then I had a good deal of success, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, geez, I think I got another book, and then I think I got another book, and so,
Yeah.
and you hear a lot of people, saying I want to get this stuff down in writing. And I like the aspect you mentioned of the whole aspect of
Well,
copyright, because I think that's
yeah, it
extremely
kind of
important.
downloaded. I wrote it in 2 weeks. And it's just kind of like it came out, and that's what happened. And then I have other books that I've done too, but this one was like in 2 weeks, just opened everything up, and um, it was just downloaded. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, it's funny. My last book, I wrote it in a month, and people say, "How do you write a book in a month?" And for me, it was very similar. I think a lot of people don't sort of even can't fathom it, but it was for me, it was just a download. It wasn't, it was my knowledge. It wasn't in my experiences and things like that. It wasn't. I didn't have to do a bunch of research on things. I mean, it was just like you said, basically downloading out of my brain onto pages.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to talk next. We're running out of time this segment. I definitely want to talk, especially next segment, of some of the fundamental reasons for self-sabotage. I definitely want to get into talking about the T-Now method, because I know it's something that's going to be powerful for folks. Again, as you mentioned, personal and professional lives, to be able to get some of these things. The one thing well, actually, I don't want to leave you enough time here, but I definitely also want to talk about. You talk about that one trait, the sabotaging trait, and talk about that if it's different for folks and things like that. So we're gonna hit a break here, guys. You can follow Dr. Agrios on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, X, and you also check out his YouTube channel. We'll be back after the break.
If you would like to reach hundreds of thousands of business owners every week, Mr. Biz Radio can help. Our show airs globally 7 days a week for more than 25 hours across several internet radio stations, plus 20 plus podcast platforms. Also, video exposure on the new exclusive Mr. Biz Network streaming channel, which gets blasted to 100 plus streaming platforms, and the Mr. Biz YouTube channel, and our 350,000 social media followers multiple times every week. Join Mr. Biz Nation as an advertiser by emailing us at info@MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit GetPulseTools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Check out all 3 of Mr. Biz's best-selling books at MrBizBooks.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show, talking about self-sabotage this week and all these different things, and specifically this proprietary method Dr. Agrios has created called the T-Now method. But as I mentioned at the end of the last segment, what are some fundamental reasons? Is there something, as you've studied this over all of these decades, some maybe 2 or 3 fundamental reasons that people have self-sabotage?
Yeah, actually, I was able to find 3. So
Okay.
as a business owner, have you ever had success and then you lost it? That's the number one reason is you've had success before and then you lost it. So the pain of actually getting to that point again and losing it is more painful. So we never get to that point again. Those of you who have maybe had their heart broken or know somebody, right? So they never find that person again because if they found that love and that person leaves or they lose it again, it's too painful. So they never get to that point. So think about, for you in the audience, think about something that happened in the past that you had that success and you lost it, and there subconsciously there's a resistance to doing it again. 3 is sidestepping what's necessary, the essentials. So I have to get on and listen to this podcast. I got to, possibly listen to this guy. I got to write a book. I got to read a book. I got to take a course. I got to get a mentor. You know what? I'm good. I'm just going to watch some Netflix and binge watch it. And once I'm done, then I'll get back doing it. And that's going to happen. So you're not doing what's necessary to get to that success. And the third one is more success equals more pain. Have you ever had a successful month, right? And did you ever have a month that the next month sucked? Why?
Yeah.
Because you had success, but because it was too much success, maybe you didn't have enough automation in play, you didn't have enough staff or whatever, you couldn't keep up with the supply, or it was so much, now you're never seeing your family. So you see it as more success equals more pain. So again, you never become successful. So those are the 3 things. So I would suggest your audience go through each and one of them and see where that came from and how is that affecting you today.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I'll be honest with you, when you first said more success is, I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense at all. But as you explained a little bit more, and I started to even sort of self-reflect a bit, I'm like, yeah, that does make a lot of sense because you would, experience that pain. Like I said, if maybe the demand was too high and again, you were working 80 hours a week and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want that again. So
Yeah.
you purposely, maybe subconsciously sort of self-sabotage. So you never get to that level again, which again, I wouldn't think on the outset it makes any sense at all, but it makes perfect sense.
Well, that's why when I have clients, they're going to go, well, yeah, I just need to get more marketing. I'm like, no, you don't. You're not even set up for any of that. If you get more marketing, you're going to be more in pain. So let's get your foundation going, and then we'll focus on the marketing.
Interesting. So let's talk about the T-Now method. So this is something you've developed through your studies and everything over the years. Give us a little bit of a sort of an overview of what the T-Now method looks like.
So T stands for transcend. So when you use the T-Now method, we show you that you will transcend any adversity, no matter how big or small, immediately. So the analogy I'll give you is this. You ever see the domino masters? They set up this elaborate display and they push the one domino, goes, right? And let's say balloons are released. What's the last thing you see? The balloons. That's your imposter syndrome, your anxiety, your stress, your procrastination, whatever you feel and see last. So what do? We take our coping methods and put them where? We put them on the balloons, not the one domino. The one domino is the inborn sabotaging trait that causes every negative emotion that you experience and then creates that negative feeling, that negative outcome. So when you push the domino this way, you go down the road of frustration and desperation. But when you use the exact opposite, which is the T-Now method, you must go through growth, inspiration, and motivation, 100% guaranteed. And we prove to you that when you use the T-Now method, it is impossible to self-sabotage yourself.
So you had mentioned the self-sabotage and sabotaging trait. is it the same? Does everyone have the same sabotaging trait? Is it different for each person? Can you maybe have more than one?
Yeah. So basically, what I found was there's actually three traits that make up who we are. And when we take those three traits, we call them the director, the supplier, and the communicator. And we put them, because that's all we do as humans, we direct, we supply, and communicate. When we place them in what's called the protective sequence, the one that I just explained to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? We find that there's actually 6 sequences of human behavior. So there's only 6 people in the world. Once I know your sequence, I can tell you everything about you. Imagine knowing your employees or your potential clients or your staff, your spouse or your children, knowing why they do what they do. And you can then subconsciously help them through that to know why that conflict is happening with you and them. So basically, there's only 3 saboteurs out of 7-8 billion people, but there's different sequences of how that's happening. So if you're a speaker, imagine if you're in front of 1,000 people, you're only talking to 6 people. So even as a podcast or whatever the case may be. So once we know your sequence, I can tell you everything about you and never meet you. I can ask you a couple questions about your significant other, tell you everything about them, never meet them. And then once I know your sequences, I'll tell you exactly how you two interact, never ask you a question, because we've gotten down to a science how each person conflicts with each other as well as evolves with each other.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah, and I would imagine, that would be super powerful. I mean, I'm even thinking a much different perspective, but when I worked at JP Morgan and I had a pretty large team, I was a big believer in like the Myers-Briggs, and completely different than what you're talking about, but I'm sort of drawing some parallels there because I would know from Myers-Briggs different personality types, how to motivate, how to, different things like that. And it sounds like this is sort of a similar type of thing. Once you know whatever that one of those, that 6 are, you're going to know, again, how to guide that person, how to help them better sort of dodge some of these challenges.
Well, one thing about the Myers-Briggs or DISC, whatever, they only talk about 4 quadrants. There's actually 6. They missed 2. And then you have to take those like twice a year or once a year because they change, right? This never changes. What we found, you are born with this. It never changes for the rest of your life. So this way it stays consistent, and there's only one thing to focus on for the rest of your life, and it creates a domino effect. We call it the behavioral domino effect. You just focus on this one thing, and immediately you'll get the reaction that you're looking for, or the way you want to. That's why when you get angry, you don't go, okay, first I got to do this, and then I got to do this. You just get angry. But imagine then breaking it down, knowing it's this trait, your saboteur, that created the balloons, which is anger. How do I shift it? You just do the opposite. And once you know the opposite, it changes. You got to realize you never get rid of the saboteur. It actually brings adversity into your lives in order to evolve you. I'm going to say that again. The saboteur creates the adversity to evolve you. So when you hit that wall, when you get frustrated, stressed, get excited because you're ready to evolve.
Interesting. What is the method you use to determine which one of those 6 you are? Is it a questionnaire type of thing? Is it some sort of assessment?
Yes, with our clients, we give them a 9 question quiz, and they get their saboteur, their other 2 traits. And once they realize, because that protective sequence has your dominant trait, which is your superpower, it's why you're here on Earth, it's your purpose. Then there's a bridge, like the fulcrum of a seesaw, and then the saboteur, and they work like this to each other. And in the next segment, what I can do is I can give you an example of how that works.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I want to talk about that, and also, ways to, maybe we can talk about in the next segment as well, ways to disarm that saboteur, right? Once you kind of figure out what your saboteur is, what are some things that maybe we can do, some practical things that we can do without giving away all the secrets, but to do that. Guys, we're going to hit a break here. Again, talking with Dr. Agrios. We're going to talk about self-sabotage and your saboteur.
How would you like to have direct access to Mr. Biz to help you run your business more profitably and more efficiently? At MrBizSolutions.com, you get live access to not only Mr. Biz, but also several of his hand-picked and trusted business experts, each with 20 plus years of experience to help you optimally manage and grow your business. That's just the start of where Mr. Biz Solutions begins. Learn more at MrBizSolutions.com. That's MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right, only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit GetPulseTools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Got a question for Mr. Biz you want answered on air? Email it to info@MrBizSolutions.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show. And again, we're talking to Dr. Philip Agrios. I should have mentioned, I don't think I mentioned this, so I did mention some of his socials: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, X, and his YouTube channel. Again, we'll put that in the show notes as well. But I failed to mention his website, transcendnow.biz. That's transcendnow.biz. And again, we'll put that in the show notes as well, but I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that. So let's pick up where we left off. We're talking about, you're identifying what your sort of sabotaging trait is. What are some ways we go once you kind of identified that? What's sort of the next steps that we would take?
So once they understand their saboteur, we give them what we call the antidote. The antidote is the actual solution to that specific saboteur. Also very interesting is that you stated that, even though how strong your mindset is, sometimes we sabotage ourselves. Well, what we discovered is that only 1/3 of the population needs mindset. That's why mindset doesn't work for a lot of people. The other people need feel set, or they need what we call heart set, because different saboteurs affect different parts of the body. So for one, we'll deal with your feelings. So those are the people that overly give. They focus on everybody else's feelings, not themselves, because they feel they're selfish. So they overly give. They have a hard time saying no. The ones that come from the heart are the people that they don't express themselves. They overprocess their feelings or their thoughts. They have a hard time confronting people, and they don't want to feel stupid or embarrassed, so they pull back, and they have a hard time maybe verbally expressing themselves. The other ones is the ones that need mindset, is that they're scattered. They're all over the place. They wing things. The chaos comes in to stimulate their brain so they can do things. And without that chaos, they'll sit back and kind of do nothing. But in that end of it, they're overly all over the place. They don't take as much responsibility for what they're doing. And that's why they wing it, and they're not really that focused on that end of it. So once we kind of understand the basis of them, we can kind of give them an understanding of coming with the feelings is that, take a little bit for yourself. It's really hard for them because on a subconscious level, they feel they have to give. So we give them different techniques and all that to show them to give, to take, that by taking isn't selfish. It's actually self-nourishing. Selfishness and self-nourishing are not the same. With the other one is showing them how to express themselves, not to feel stupid, that their brilliance is in them, and by them actually verbally and in taking action and motivating themselves, because they have a hard time initiating, by doing so, they see some tremendous ways, and now people can understand what they're thinking and feeling instead of guessing what they're thinking and feeling, and because they have a hard time disconnecting, so they overprocess things too much. The other one is to helping them to understand how to focus, how to grasp the understanding of becoming aware, to acknowledge what you're doing, and then follow through and actually finish a task. So giving them certain things to do and how that works on a subconscious level, they'll able to do that. So for those of you that kind of resonated with some of them, now all of those are within us. However, you do one more than the others. So once we are able to place that in that sequence, then you'll understand why you do what you do and how you can shift it immediately.
Well, it's interesting. I was thinking about an instance for myself where I was getting ready I was writing my third book, and I had a deadline, and I procrastinated like crazy, which is not typical of me. Like, I'm very goal-oriented, deadline-oriented. I get things down and I just follow the script, right? I kind of reverse engineer and work backwards to get to where I need to. And I had procrastinated so much. And the ironic part about the book was about achieving big goals. And, writing a book is kind of a big goal for a lot of people. And I'm thinking to myself, I got so frustrated, talk about self-sabotage, because I said, I'm not even following what I'm going to write the book. I'm not even following the steps that I'm going to talk about in the book. I mean, how silly is that? And it ended up I ended up writing the book from soup to nuts in 30 days, um, because I followed that methodology and I got back on track. But as I was thinking about it, there was definitely a lot of self-sabotage was going on there because, I had decided to write this book in, I want to say September or October, and I had to have it done. It was somewhere around the middle of March. So I had plenty of time, but I just procrastinated. And finally, I was down to 30 days. And, I had like, hey,
Hmm.
I got to get off my butt and get this done. But there was definitely a lot of self-sabotage that was going on for myself. And it was kind of, again, not very typical of how I typically operate. And that's why it was very frustrating for me.
But that's so great because at that moment you were protecting yourself from whatever reason. It could be that if I do this, it may not be as what I wanted to. You're overthinking it and stuff. And because a lot of times your superpower trips you up. So for instance, I work with a lot of VP of sales, and you ever know a guy or a woman that overly talks and talked themselves out of a sale ever? Right?
Oh, for
So,
sure. Yeah.
so what I would, excuse me, what I would basically ask the sales manager, what do you do? And they basically say all the time, or most of the time, that person needs communication skills. And they're like, no, that's their superpower. They're overly communicating because of their saboteur. Maybe they're not feeling value, so they have to show them by overly connecting. Maybe they're scattered, so they're pulling and doing all these things. So what we do is as soon as the person finds their antidote, instantaneously their superpower becomes balanced 100%. We've seen people go from 30% to 90% closing rates within a week. So imagine as a sales professional, knowing the saboteur of your potential client, you'll know why they're resisting themselves, and you can shift them into your product and service if your product and service is right for them. Karma's a bitch, right? But knowing that and helping them to show them that you're not selling them anything, because sell is really what? To give. You're giving them the opportunity to use your product to help them.
Interesting. Interesting. So of these three primary traits, is there one that is much more prevalent amongst everyone? Or are they kind of balanced as, the three equally? Or is there one that, I don't know, 50% of people have this one particular trait?
Uh, I haven't done the research in that manner enough.
Okay.
Even though we have thousands of people, it was just in the, trying to figure this out. But in my groups, um, it's balanced depending on who I'm talking to and who's
Hmm.
I'm attracting and seeing if they're a part of this. Because we go through a very stringent a way to make sure that are you a candidate for my program? Because you have money and you breathe does not mean you come into the group. Very, very restrictive. We want to make sure, number one, is this really true for you? What will I guarantee you? Because I guarantee results. And we also have a money back guarantee. And then can you at least 5 times your investment? If that's a yes and we both agree, then you're allowed into the program.
So that some of these traits, I think I know the answer to this, but I'm curious. Do you notice by like occupation or what people do that, hey, if you're you mentioned a VP of sales, if you're a VP of sales, you're probably going to fall into this particular, no?
No, no,
Okay.
because that's why in my group, when I teach, we'll have one person in the sequence, let's say a VP of sales. I've had three VP of sales in a room, each one different saboteur. And
Hmm.
then as I express to this person their challenge, I would then tell the other two that are different how they would do it differently, and it would resonate because what I told this person wouldn't work for those two. But as I give them their antidote for each one, it works with them perfectly.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking for some reason that maybe if you had a particular saboteur that you would follow, a typical career path of X, Y, Z. You're going to
Mhm.
work with your hands, or you're going to be, a creative or something like that. So it's interesting.
Yeah, no.
Um, Very interesting stuff. Well, we're running out of time here, Dr. Agrios. I really appreciate you coming on. Again, transcendnow.biz is his website. You can find out more there. You can follow him on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, on X, and check out his YouTube channel as well, Dr. Agrios. Really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Ken. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to digging into the book. I haven't read the whole thing yet. I just kind of scratched the surface, but I really like what I've seen so far. Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your week. And don't forget, as always, cash flow is king.
To become part of Mr. Biz Nation, follow him on all social media platforms or never miss a show by going to MrBizRadio.com. If you prefer free video content, visit the Mr. Biz YouTube channel or check out his streaming channel, which is available on 100 plus streaming platforms at MrBizNetwork.com.